is if losing that 15,000 or is going to either put you in severe financial difficulty or debt, my honest advice is don't even attempt it. You can come out and what I call hit a lick, the Bitcoin bros. No one can tell me, and they can't sit around and tell me, oh, we knew it was going to go to the moon. No, you took a flutter, it worked out, congrats to you. No one really knew what Bitcoin was going to do, for example.
Adam Day, welcome to the Rebel Agent podcast.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a long time coming.
It has. We've been talking about this, and I'm super excited to get you on because you're going to be a bit different. You're a very straight-talking guy. You've had quite a bit of success considering you've only been in Dubai for 1 year. Looking forward to getting into all of that. Maybe you could just give a quick introduction and we'll dive in.
Sure. So ran my own recruitment company for about 5 years. Had to do that out of necessity, really, because...
This was in the UK.
This was back in the UK because we sort of had 19 that sort of hit the UK economy. So never claimed benefits. I don't intend on asking the government for any help. That's certain. That's for sure. So it was either try and find a new job, which was nigh on impossible, or make something for myself. So I decided to create my own company. We initially started doing sort of CV writing, trying to help people back into work when they were being made redundant or being furloughed. Then I realised that I've got all this human capital in terms of some great CVs, some great candidates. So let's spin it into a recruitment company. And we did that for 5 years and sold it off just before we came back out here. So
that's another success story, isn't it?
It is. It was hard work. And when you try and open a business 2 months into maybe the world's worst financial crisis for God knows how long, you hit the wall a lot. So it's taught me a lot of lessons for working back out here again.
And those hard knocks would have been good for you.
Look, you've got to get scratches and bruises. Who wants to go to the grave in pristine condition, right? We need to get roughed up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. That's life. And I enjoy it. So
great. And then Dubai. What was it, January of last year you came out?
I think it was January 6th. Yeah, so it's near enough to the day, to the week that we took the plunge and came back out to Dubai. So
yeah, you and your wife.
Me and the wife, yeah. We actually got married in Abu Dhabi.
Brilliant, I didn't know
in
that.
November, yeah. So very strange.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Very, very strange way that weddings happen out here. It's more of a business transaction rather than an actual wedding. But when we go back to the UK sometime this year, maybe in the summer, because it gets a bit too hot here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We'll have an actual celebration.
Brilliant. So you came out January of last year. What I'd like you to do is to discuss how you've been so successful in that first year, where a lot of agents struggle. But you made a success of it. And can you just go into that?
Well, look, before I came out here, and again, full disclosure, there's a lot of perception that people are going to come out here, they see what's on the Insta and whatever. I'm going to come out and I'm going to make millions, and it can happen. It does happen. I've seen it happen. We've got people that work for us that make it happen. But you've got to have a grounding in reality. It's going to take a while. So I basically set myself a 5-year plan for coming out here. And year one, I said, I'm going to make all the mistakes. I'm going to find all the landmines. It's my apprenticeship. I'm going back to college, effectively. I'm going to work out.
That's a great way of thinking of it. Yeah.
I like to do things properly. That's how I built a successful recruitment company back in. It wasn't built overnight. It takes a lot of blood, sweat and tears. I enjoy putting that graft in. But that was my mentality coming here. Year one is just an apprenticeship. Whatever happens, happens. As long as I keep proactive, as long as I'm active, as long as I'm doing what I'm doing, testing out new proof of concepts to see what would work, what doesn't work, how this market relates, because it's completely different to the way the UK works as a whole. A lot more WhatsApp here, for example, rather than emails. And then the real work begins in year two, which is 2026, where we're at now in January. So right now is how I see. I've done my apprenticeship for the first year. I've made a hell of a lot of mistakes. Had some wins, had some quick wins, had some not so good wins. Lost a lot of business too, but then I've also won some. So now that I know roughly where I'm able to circumnavigate myself, I've got another 4 years left because I'm not going over the 5 years. And as I said to you before, when I get to the end of the 5 years, we'll decide what the sort of landscape looks like there and where we're going to go next.
That's a great mindset to have. But also, a lot of people have that sort of mindset, but don't have the success that you've had during that first year. Yes, you've had your hits, but what are the things, you talk about the things that work, the things that don't work. What has worked for you during that experimental first year, if you like?
That's a good question. And as I said, not smashed it, not set the world alight by any means.
But a lot of agents quit, don't they? And you're miles from that.
They do. And to be fair, I think that the battle's won or lost before you go onto the battlefield, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure I found that quote on a back with cereal packet or something. I think the reason why a lot of agents bottom out very quickly out here is they don't put the preparation in beforehand. For example, a lot of people underestimate the cost of what it's actually going to cost to get started out here. And then they're going to try and go from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. I'm lucky that I'm not in that position. I've not been in that position for a very long time where I'm effectively paid up. I don't really need to work anymore. I work because I love to work. I love to do what I do. So the financial aspect of I need to make bank or I'm going to be on Emirates Home was never going to happen. I've set up for 5 years. We've put the financial plan in place for 5 years. I'm set. So that's the massive weight off one's mind. Because the costs here, they do start to eat you up. They're incremental. You just a little bit here, a little bit there. It soon adds up. And it's not frequent either. You're only going to collect if you do a deal.
Yeah.
There's no, you're not getting JSA out here. There's no employment benefit out here, right? No sick leave either, no annual leave allowance. And everything has to be paid for, whether it's kids in school or your car or phone or whatever. So I think that's the first thing. You've got to come out here with the right amount of funds first so that you're actually comfortable.
I was going to ask you this later, but maybe you could just say what sort of figure would you? Obviously, you're in a very comfortable position. A lot of people aren't like that. But what is the minimum do you think they need?
Realistically, whether you're doing sales or leasing, you need around £15,000 sterling.
Yeah, so it's 60,000 dirhams approximately.
I think that's a sensible way of looking at it. And going on to the money aspect of it, because again, I'll just shoot it straight to yourself. If you've got your last 15,000 in your bank, or you need to get personal loans or credit cards to pay for that, my genuine advice is if losing that 15,000 is going to either put you in severe financial difficulty or debt, my honest advice is don't even attempt it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even attempt it. You can come out and what I call hit a lick, the Bitcoin bros. No one can tell me, and they can't sit around and tell me, oh, we knew it was going to go to the moon. No. You took a flutter. It worked out. Congrats to you. No one really knew what Bitcoin was going to do, for example.
Yep.
And it was brought on by COVID, which helped accelerate, etc. I did okay on it as well. It was a punt. But if that £15,000 is going to put you in the poorhouse, don't even attempt it, because there's more ways of being able to earn a living, earn an okay living, not have the stress of financial obligations in your life than coming out into Dubai and becoming a property broker.
So I would largely agree with that. The only thing I would say, obviously you're a lot younger than me, but there are people younger again, aren't there? People are 20, 21, that sort of age coming out. And if you've got that safety net back home, maybe you've got parents, you can move back in. Maybe if you have got that sort of figure, £15,000, 60,000 dirhams, whatever, saved up, sorry, 75,000, isn't it? Not 60. 75,000 dirhams. If you have got that, then maybe you could take a punt on it.
If I was in my 20s again and I had the disposable cash, absolutely I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm now, 37 now, so I'm granddad as far as most are concerned. I should be retired. I am effectively retired, but I'm a workaholic. I just can't stop working.
Yeah.
It's both a pro and a con. But as I said, if you can lose that 15,000, mum and dad are going to support you when you go home. You want to come out here and make it. Hats off to you. I mean, one thing you can say for all brokers or people that work self-employed is we're risk takers.
Yeah.
And you've got to speculate to accumulate it, right? I don't know where I'm getting these sayings from. I don't know. Maybe I just
they all work.
God knows.
Come in.
Too much YouTube. I don't know. Too much watching your podcast. But no, that's what I generally say. You need at least £15,000, and before you come out as well, I know we spoke about this before, a lot of people come to Dubai, forget about being a property broker, I'm just talking about Dubai in general, because they say, I want to escape. And by definition, if you're escaping from something, it means you must be running from something. The perception versus the reality is very, very different out here. And what I mean by that is you have to fix yourself and your problems or your family or your situation first before you come out here.
You have to be of the right mentality when you come.
Yeah, because what I've noticed what Dubai is, what it really is, it doesn't turn you into something you're not. It just amplifies who you already are.
Exactly.
So if you're broke financially in the UK or elsewhere, you come to Dubai, you're probably going to be even more broke. If you have poor relationships with your kids or your family, you're probably going to have even more relationship problems out here. There's no help.
Yeah.
There's no safety rail out here. So it's just going to amplify who you really are. You need to fix those problems first, because let's face it, 99% of the problems in one's life are generated by the person looking in the mirror. You generated them.
Absolutely.
People say, I can't pay the mortgage. Well, who took the mortgage out?
Yeah.
Can't afford it. Well, who bought the iPhone rather than invest in it? X, Y, Z. You're the cause of most of your problems, and getting on a flight on Emirates to here isn't going to solve them. There's only two universal quick wins I think you get when you come to Dubai. Number one, you're guaranteed nice weather, 360 days a year, and you're not going to get your phone mugged off you on the street. Other than that, you need to fix the rest first, because it's just going to, and again, one of the big things that comes across is the fakers. A lot of people faking it till they make it, not here necessarily. But if you're a faker, you're posing with the cars in your home country. It might not be the UK. You could be in the US. You could be from South Africa. You come out here, you'll take your level of fakery to the whole new level. You'll be on the premiership level of fakery. It will just expose who you really are. But the reverse is also true. If you're a good business person, you'll take your business to the next level. If you're a good negotiator, you'll take the negotiation to the next level. If you're a good salesman or salesperson, you'll take your salesmanship to the next level. The reverse is also true. Fix the problems first, get that financial grounding, and then get on the flight. Do not do it. Don't even attempt to do it if you haven't got the finances in place, or you think it's a golden ticket to solving the problems you already created, because it's not. You're just going to get yourself into a worse hole. 2-3 months down the line, you're going back home in a more miserable place than when you left.
I think that's great advice. Here's the slight dilemma, though, for a lot of people that are having, let's take the UK, but it could be any country. Let's say you are having success in that country. You're less inclined to want to go out, aren't you? You think, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so it becomes difficult for some people to make that move across, I think.
Yeah, especially places like the UK and London. It is a place where you get settled. And it's not as convenient as in Dubai, but it's a place where you sort of nest, and you know it takes a bit of effort to get off the sofa and go and do something new. But how I see it is, if you're employed, you come out here, it works out. If it doesn't, you go home, you'll find another job.
Yeah.
And if you did what I did, where you created and sold your own company, if it weren't to work out for whatever reason, I can create another company again.
Yep.
I might not necessarily need to sell it, but I'll always eat, because I know how to conduct myself and how to conduct business. I know how the world of commerce and finance works. So you don't really have anything really to lose, especially if you're young, if you're in your early 20s. As I said, I'm a granddad now. I'm kind of a granddad in terms of age for this industry.
What does that do for me? I'm a great granddad.
But no, that's the thing. So look, you have to take a risk. The fortune favours the bold, as they say. So if you've got 15,000, you're not going to miss it too much. You fix the problems. You want to come out and give it a go, come give it a go. At least you can say you tried, you did it. And you will take some lessons home with you, I'm sure, regardless of where you're from. Might not necessarily be the UK. And I just think as a whole, you're out here for 6 months a year. It's a different culture, different way of living. You've got everything to gain and nothing really to lose in that aspect, but just make sure that you're set up for success first. I set myself up with my wife now for 5 years. So we're set up.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what happens. So that's, I think, the longevity is what I go for. And I noticed in my recruitment business, one of the ways I won a lot of accounts, I'd speak to a hiring manager and say, we'd like to hire for you. They'd say, well, no, we've got a contract with X company. Let me just ask you a question. With X company, over the last 2 years, how many consultants have you actually been speaking to? Yeah, they seem to change every 6 to 9 months because they get fired or they leave or whatever it might be. Okay, well, look, I've done this 2 or 3 years in. I'm the boss, so no one's getting fired. I'm your point of contact. Is that better to build a relationship with me rather than just keep going and churning through new people? And that's how I won a lot of accounts. People, again, when we spoke about this before, people at the top of this game, exception to the rules, the ones that are making millions of pounds in commission, they've done 10, 15 years plus.
Yeah, sure.
It's not land January, February, you're a millionaire. It's not going to happen. Or I hope it happens. I've seen people make millions of pounds in commission that haven't been in here for a decade.
They've learned their trade.
They've learned their trade. Learn the trade. Learn what you're doing. It took me 2 years to learn how to recruit properly before I could start my own company and do it. It took 2 years of my apprenticeship. I've been able to expedite that experience to make it 1 year doing this. learn your trade first, go for the longevity. People are always welcome that, someone that says no in year 1 might say yes in year 4 to me. But I've been there for the last 4 years with that person, so they're going to come to me.
Well, you've shown consistency then, haven't you?
And that's what it
they're
is.
going to think, well, that guy's still, Adam's still there, so he must be doing something right. And so let's just go back to your story. Which company did you join when you were out here a year ago?
The main company that I joined was White & Co.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable company. Unbelievable. I mean, I've worked for businesses that generate revenue in recruitment, financial services, business retail. I've never seen the acceleration, growth and figures that this business does.
How have they managed to do that? Obviously, Callum heading it up, but can you expand on how White & Co have been so successful so quickly?
I think one, it all comes from the top. Callum's extremely experienced in what he does. He's learned his trade. He's gone through his apprenticeship. He's gone through hitting the brick wall. He's gone through smashing it, and now he's built his own company over the last 5 years. I think the key to our success, and like I said, I don't sit at director level. I don't sit in those meetings. I can only observe from what I observe and what I hear and see. I think one is our power is in our versatility. There's companies that get to our size, they want to try and implement something. They've got to get multiple levels of sign off. They might have to go out country to their head office. If it just makes good business sense, Callum will just say, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's implement, let's get it done.
Yeah.
It's that versatility, it's that speed of being able to do it.
Well, it's agility, isn't it? And it's not a corporate entity as such. It's becoming that way because it's getting bigger. But as long as you can implement that agile attitude that you've described, then yeah, that makes sense.
Huge. I worked for Hayes in London in my first recruitment job. And if you wanted something signed off, it's got to go to head office, board of directors have to sign it off, and you have to go through all this. You can say to Callum over lunch, I've got an idea, would this work? And he'd give it some thought, stress test it. It makes sense, let's do it. Monday, it's implemented. So I think the versatility and the speed of being able to implement it. The second one is around training and development. There's always a constant ongoing development cycle. You're never left alone. And it's just this constant. I know a lot of people in business and they're okay for their businesses just to do okay. That's not Callum. That's not the ethos of White & Company. It's we want you to succeed. We want you to be winners. Because if we win, Callum wins.
Yep.
It's a win-win. It's a zero-sum game otherwise, right? So, and that's very much embedded where Callum, for example, will weekly put in the group chats, watch this YouTube video, read this book. This is what I learned when I went on a course. There's a constant push towards success and move. Like no one ever sits back. And I know a lot of people say, well, when you come to Dubai, there is a lot more optimism around business and success, and he's the best role model I can ever say for that. The same is also in London. I never sat down in a recruitment company in London. They said, no, we don't really care what you guys do. There was always a push, but here it's just intensified. And I genuinely believe, again, it's just my own thoughts, maybe 2 to 3 years, maybe, give or take, a little bit more, a little bit less. I genuinely believe that White & Company is going to be the highest property brokerage by revenue in Dubai. In the trajectory we're going.
It's quite possible, isn't it? Yeah, and I think just having one guy at the top is an advantage up to a point, isn't it? As long as he is flexible, and then one of the things that I've noticed with Callum, just watching him online, he does put a lot of content out there. He's very open and transparent. I mean, a lot of people can learn from him as he's learnt from others over the years, and I very much like that about him.
Couldn't agree more. And again, this is what I mean by he's done his apprenticeship, he's hit the landmines, he's done his work, and now he's a company owner. So when Callum says, read this book, watch this podcast, you'd be stupid not to take notice.
Yeah.
If he'd just done it a month, I'd be like, whatever. He's proved it. He's proven it. All the figures on our monthly meeting are all transparent. He's proved it. So if he says, Adam, read this book, look at this podcast, whatever it might be, I make an effort to go and do it because he's telling me for my benefit.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense. And that's what I mean by you've got to give respect to the hustle. You've got to respect the work that he and fellow brokers like him that have been doing this for 10 plus years that have put into this industry, because these are the guys.
He's recruited well, hasn't he? He's got you as well, and I know there's a lot of good brokers at the company. Bringing on Jodie Thompson, who's been on this podcast a couple of times before, that was a big recruit for him, because she's one of the best, well known, isn't she, and one of the best recruiters in Dubai.
Yeah, and expertise aside, I would just say Jodie's a person and a husband to be. Are two of some of the most genuinely lovely people that you'll ever meet. She's just a genuinely you never not see her smiling. She's just you ever want to confide, speak to someone, you want a bit of advice, you want to get something off your chest. She'll always lend you an ear, and so will a soon-to-be husband. They're just two very, very nice, genuine people that comes through, and that comes through in the fabric of the people they hire and the business. It's not perfect. There's a lot of work to be done still.
Sure.
But we're heading in the right direction. And I'm really excited for the next 4 years. I hope to be with the business.
Yeah.
Because I've done my first apprenticeship. Now we're going to start to work, ramp it up, and then we're going to leave in year. I'm leaving in year, as I said, 5 years. I'm done.
That's your mindset. It'll be interesting to see whether that happens or not. But
we'll have a follow up.
Yeah, we'll try and have a follow up before then. But that's great. Right, okay. We talked about before the podcast. We were talking about investors and advice you give investors. Can you discuss a bit about that on the podcast?
Sure. Again, it's quite a general question, but one thing I've seen that lacks is that the financial education just really isn't in there. The second someone says to me, Adam, I want to invest this and this, and I say, well, where did you get those figures from? Oh, I saw a guy on YouTube. Oh, I saw it on TikTok. Instantly switch off. This is where people are getting their financial education, and it's just the wrong form of education to begin with. These crazy figures, someone would say, what was it the other day? I want 18%. I've got 600,000 dirham and I want 18% net or something loony. I said, where did you get these figures from? He said, oh, well, there's this guy on YouTube. He shows you how to flip it. I said, why don't you call him then and ask him to sell you something? Why would you call me? But people genuinely believe what they're being fed. I don't think it's down to stupidity, for example. I just think it's naivety. You cannot get a financial education from YouTube. It's good for various resources. You want to learn to knit. Fair enough, fine. I wouldn't trust my portfolio and my investments to some guy on YouTube. It just doesn't come to me. So the financial education part is missing. And that's the part that you need to try and educate your client about, what the realities are versus the perception. Some people are willing to accept it and take it on board. Some aren't. Those that do will work together. Those that don't, there's another 20,000 brokers willing to take your money. So
yeah, I get the impression with you want to establish very early on whether or not you can work with that client. If you can't, then just get rid of them quickly. Otherwise, they could go on and become a good client if they'll listen to your advice.
Well, again, I've got 3 principles to how I work with everyone, and they're non-negotiable. 2 apply to my clients, buyers, sellers, investors. They apply to me, but I also have a 3rd one. And the first one is I only work with adults. And you might think, well, hold on a minute, why would you sell to children? No, it's got nothing to do with age. You might have gone out with someone and you say, stop acting like a child, stop being childish. If someone can't exhibit some form of emotional maturity or IQ, I will not work with you. If you throw your toys out your pram, you want to ghost, you want to cry, complain, moan, I will not work with you. Buyer, seller, investor, I don't care. I'll exhibit the same. Look, we're now having an adult-to-adult conversation. This is how we're able to talk. I can't talk with children. You need to come to the party as an adult. The second one is I only work with volunteers. I don't work with hostages. And again, this isn't some movie. I'm going to ask you whether you're an investor, a buyer or seller, some very tough, challenging questions. Sometimes they're going to be uncomfortable questions. For me to help you, you need to volunteer me the information. There's a difference between not knowing and not wanting to answer. For example, if you don't know what the budget is or you don't know how to put a financial sheet together, that's not a problem. We can do that together. But if you out and out say, I'm not telling you something, for example, I want you to shortlist me some options. Okay, what budget here? What are we deploying here? I'm not telling you. That's interesting. Would you like to share why? No. Just send me some options. No, I'm not sending you anything. We're not working together. You need to volunteer me the information so I can do my job. If you don't give me, and like a doctor, you say to the doctor, I'm not feeling particularly well. The doctor goes, what's wrong? And then you just sit there and go, guess. Would the doctor tolerate it? You either tell me what's wrong or get out of my surgery.
Yeah, you're the professional in this case, aren't you?
You're not gonna, I don't let people dictate my job.
Yeah,
I know I've only I've done my apprenticeship, but if I look at the wider resources that I've got, with the hundreds of brokers we've got, the billions in revenue we've generated, and the thousands of properties we've sold, if you can demonstrate to me that you've sold billions of dirhams worth of property and thousands in volume, you can have a seat at the table and tell me how to do my job. But you haven't, or you probably haven't.
Yeah.
So you're not going to dictate how I work. You work to my process, you work to my system, and you'll work within my structure.
And I think the thing with that is that you will get rid of people that you might upset, but the ones that you're left with are going to respect you for that.
Again, another thing, I don't aim to be liked.
Yeah, sure.
I don't aim to be disliked. I know it sounds nuts. What's this guy talking about? My aim when I speak to someone isn't to be liked, because if I'm aiming to be liked, I'm not doing my job properly. My job is to be trusted. You might not like me, but you'll trust me and you'll do business with me because you trust me. You haven't got to like your dentist to trust they're going to pull your tooth out, right? You haven't got to trust the pilot on Emirates to trust you haven't got to like the pilot on Emirates to trust he's not going to put the plane into the ground.
You just want to know that he can fly that plane properly.
You just want, so that's what it's built.
Rather than go for a beer with him.
If someone likes you but doesn't trust you, they won't work with you. But there's a lot of people I do work with, we don't necessarily see eye to eye, but because I shoot them straight, they say, at least I know where I stand with this guy. Yeah. Black and white's white. So I might not like him, but I'll do business with him. So that's how I tend to work. Yeah.
And also you're very organised, aren't you? I mean, I've noticed that 2 or 3 times we've met up, you say you're going to be there. You're there 5-10 minutes early because I've been more or less on time. And everything you do, it's very organised and methodical, I think. Process driven, as you just said.
Yeah, my life, believe it or not, is probably incredibly boring. My life's a boring life. Everything I do is run by process, system, and structure. Even the way that I prepare my breakfast in the morning, everything is done to a certain. I don't chance a lot.
Yeah,
I don't.
Well, you don't take unnecessary risks, do you?
Well, I wouldn't say I won't take unnecessary risk. I'm a risk. I've already come here.
Yeah, but you'll take risks, but not unnecessary.
But they have to be calculated, and you have to understand what the end goal is. It drives me nuts. I'll tell you a true story. It drives me nuts when someone says, I closed the deal, and you say, how did you do it? And you say, I winged it. I did a deal earlier last year, because everything I do is process system driven, and I winged it. I basically hit it. You could call it hitting a lick or getting lucky. Everyone's high-fiving, fine. And not a lot of people know this. Even, only my wife not really sort of knows this. So when people at work see this, they're going to hear this. When I hit that lick, it fell into my lap. This deal, got paid on it. It terrified me. It kept me up for 2 nights. And my wife was like, why are you worried about it? You got paid on it. I went, yeah, but I got lucky. I winged it and it paid off. It fell outside of my process and my system and structure. So it was an outline. It was a black swan.
Messed with your head.
It messed with my head, because if you don't know why you did something or how you got an outcome, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And winging it means, if you say to not just brokers, it could be recruiters, how did you do your last 5 deals? If they can't explain it front to back to front, loop the loop, you can't do it. You winged it. You got lucky. If you ask your surgeon, how would you perform the surgery? He or she would tell you back to front to back.
Yeah.
Because they've got 15, 20 years as a surgeon. They don't just say, well, I'll open you up and we'll see what's going on in there. We'll have a little tinker.
It's process driven.
Would you let a surgeon open you up if they just said, well, we'll cut you open, David, and we'll just have a little tinker around. We'll have a little fiddle around, see what's working. Yes, no, okay. You're not touching, you're not going to open me up. I want to know exactly what you're going to do. Every cut, every incision, every vacuum, every clamp. I want to know everything that you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Then you'll build my trust. So everything I do in my life effectively is governed by effectively a timetable, or governed by a set of actions and activities. I don't really leave much to winging it. I don't like.
The proof is the successful recruitment agency you had in London, and now this successful first year. Do you want to talk just maybe a little bit about differences between Dubai and the UK?
Apart from the weather, as I said before, the only 2 things that Dubai will fix for you, say versus London, will be 1, you get consistent weather rather than, I don't know, 4 seasons in 5 days maybe.
Yeah.
and you ain't going to get mugged. Or have your phone snatched or whatever they call it these days. In terms of a business landscape, London's a very mature market overall for business. There's very set systems and structures and processes to how business is conducted in London. It's done in some way. For example, it's done over email. For example, people might WhatsApp or Telegram here and again, and that's becoming a lot more widespread. But everything's done on sort of an email, face-to-face basis. For example, I was working with someone from Singapore, and they said, "Isn't it nuts how people will WhatsApp you someone's passport and checks and title deeds to put on a WhatsApp? What's this all about?" And it took me aback a little bit to begin with. Yeah, this is a bit nuts, isn't it? It's not really how I was used to conducting business. It's speed, isn't it? It's a faster market here than London. I think overall, people will flake, for example, in London, and you get flaky people everywhere. But to the degree that people will flake here, or it's more of a throwaway, not culture, but it's more of a throwaway aspect, it's 100 times, I don't use the word worse, but it's 100 times more brutal here. There really is very, very little loyalty out here. Very little loyalty. You know, someone might say, I'm working with someone exclusive. They're the family broker or they're the family X, Y, and Z. But then if you turn up with a check and say, well, do you want to do business? They'll throw that person under the bus, possibly.
Yeah.
Whereas in London, it's a little bit more, well, you know what? We've got a long-standing relationship with X, so we're going to stick with X. They're happy to sometimes pass an opportunity by to keep that relationship going. But that's what I'd say. Be prepared for the brutality of, oh, I did all this work for 6 months and now they won't pick my phone up. Well, I've got a saying, it's either relationships or relevance. You can build a relationship over 6 months, a year with someone. They'll probably pick your phone up. But the second you lose relevance with someone, your phone won't get picked up. Your call won't get returned. If you want something I have and I'm now relevant at this moment, I'm hot at that moment in time, my phone will get picked up or they'll pick the phone up.
That's a very good point.
So that's
You've got to constantly be adding value to that buyer or that client's situation, haven't you? Or seller.
You've got to add relevance.
Yeah.
And again, people talk about value and it's quite hard because it gets thrown around a lot, deliver value. But how do you actually quantify what's actually value? Is it a property report? Well, everyone does those. You can get them for free if you go onto DXB Interact or whatever it might be. So it's not, okay, so what is it you're delivering to me? And again, I think showing that one's trustworthy to begin with in a market where, let's just say that you've got to be very careful about who you do deal with and with what. I think that adds automatic value in itself. An established brand and a company that you're working for adds that value. The resources and your upper management and back office functions add value. So it's really hard to sort of quantify how do you actually bottle value? And again, I think it's just...
So you prefer the word relevance?
I think it's about, because again, if I didn't know you, but you came to me and said, Adam, look, here's the check right here, or here's the cash in the bag, person wants to buy it, will you do a deal with me? I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. Okay, let's do a deal. And again, I'll explain something that's quite... It might upset a few people, but this is how I see the reality of it. And this is how, when I ran my own business and I worked with one of the biggest recruitment companies in the world. Have you ever had a conversation with someone where, when you were a broker, and you're 10, 15 minutes in and back and forth, you built a good rapport with them and they went, sorry, what was your name again and where are you calling from?
I've had that, yeah.
If that doesn't tell you how irrelevant you are and where you're calling from is, nothing else will.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with a high value transaction such as a property, yes, people are going to look after themselves, aren't they?
Of course.
And so, yeah.
I think it's about being relevant.
Yeah, that's a good word.
I've got an active buyer rather than I'm just going to send you a property report. I'm relevant if you're looking to sell, of course. If you're not looking to sell, then having a buyer isn't relevant. But maybe then we can do a report, or maybe I can draw some figures up for your rental because it's a rental where I can try and do something there. So it's about having the correct information or having the right resource at the right time with the situation that the person's in, for example, rather than just necessarily having a relationship. I felt building relationships in recruitment meant that we can't do work together, but 6 months down the line, you'll remember who I am, or I've touched in with you a few times. So when you have a requirement, you'll come out. And that's how it will tend to work. And that's why, again, it takes time. It's not going to be done over the course of a month or 6 or even a year. It's going to take a few years to build that up. where someone
100%.
where someone comes to you after all those touch points.
Yeah.
But for the quick wins or for the quick, let's get a deal done, relevance beats relationships all day long.
Obviously, a lot of agents are making very good commission out here. But you were talking earlier, the real wealth isn't created that way, maybe, or necessarily that way. Maybe you could expand on that?
Yes, this is a good question. And again, it's something that's crucially important to the job that you do. As a property broker, it's not to other roles. The way I see it is you have two roles, two jobs. The first one is to buy and sell property. You can talk about off-plan investment, but that's effectively it. That's the day job. You haven't got to be Einstein to do it. It doesn't take brains of Britain to be a property broker. It isn't a high barrier to entry to the job, but it's just hard work. Your job really begins when you get paid that commission. So you've done a deal, you've got 50,000 in your account at the end of the month, could be pounds, dirhams, dollars. You now need to be in a position where you say to yourself, okay, I've now paid my expenses, because that's what needs to be paid first. You need to pay your living expenses out of that commission. I've got 40,000 from the original 50. How can I deploy this capital? How can I invest it? Is it funds? Is it bonds, commodities, fractional property ownership, whatever it might be, so that this commission now works for me and brings me in a wage, a salary.
Yeah.
That's how you retire yourself. You can retire off of your commission if you make millions and depend on your lifestyle relative. But it means that if you have to earn a commission to live, it means you always have to work. The key is not to work or not having to work. You work, as I do, because I like to do it, because I enjoy doing it, not because I have to.
Well, you know, because you've got yourself into this position, haven't you?
And it took me nearly 10 years to do it. It wasn't an overnight thing. So you've earned your commission, you've paid your expenses, you've now got 40,000. You can go buy a watch, nice car. I would rather go and buy some bonds or stick it into a mutual fund or do what you need to do so that if you're sick, if you're ill, you want to take annual leave off, you want the children's school fees paid, the dividends or the income or the appreciation from those investments will cover that. Yeah. You need to make money whilst you effectively sleep. You need to be in a position where if you lay in bed, your expenses are paid for.
And Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about this, doesn't he?
He does. A lot of his advice is around debt. And again, there's good debt and there's bad debt. And to just break it down, again, this is just a personal philosophy that I have in business. And we spoke about what it costs to come out here and set up, which is about 15,000. If you've got £5,000 in your saving account and you take £5,000 on a credit card and £5,000 on a personal loan to get that 15,000, again, just personal opinion, you haven't got the right or the authority to explain to an investor or someone that's got money to invest how to deploy their money when you yourself have demonstrated that you can't manage or handle your own finances.
Sure.
Yeah. You wouldn't take personal trading advice from someone who's morbidly obese. And let me clarify this because it's very important. Someone that's obese hasn't got a food problem. They have a food management problem.
Sure.
If you're broke, you haven't got a money problem. You have a money management problem. So if you can't manage your own money, you've got no right to sit at the table and tell someone how to invest or deploy their capital. You have no right. You need to be able to shore yourself up first. You haven't got to be a millionaire to work with millionaires and vice versa. But you've got to at least have that discipline and that money management skill to start advising other people. So my advice and what I've done and what I continue to do is invest that commission so that if you want to take a couple of weeks off a year, your bills are paid.
Yeah.
The key is just to fill up 52 weeks of the year with passive investments or passive income or dividends or whatever it might be. Make sure they're tax efficient. I'm not going to go into all that because there's various rules and areas, but that's the key. That's how you're going to retire. The day you are wealthy, and again, people have different definitions of wealth. My definition isn't driving a Ferrari or wearing a Rolex. That's not wealth to me. That is what it is. Good luck if people have that. That's not my business. Wealth to me is having your life paid for in perpetuity and you work on your terms because you enjoy what you do. That's wealth. And that's what this job will allow you to do. If you work in McDonald's, you may only have £300 or £400 at the end of the month to deploy into those investments. This is a job where you can deploy 100,000 in. It'll only take 2 or 3 years, smart investments, smart money management, and you're retired. Whereas it's going to take the person at McDonald's maybe 10, 15 years to get to the same point. That's the opportunity this job allows you to. You're not going to get wealthy off the commission per se, unless, as I said, you are the exception to the rule when you start generating millions, which can happen. The smarter way to do it is invest what you get or what you earn. Be smart with your investments, manage the money correctly so that it pays for you, then work on your terms. And that's a smarter way of doing it.
And just one final thing, what's the best way of getting hold of you, Adam?
Fair. The best way to reach out is LinkedIn.
I love your stuff on LinkedIn.
I like to be a little bit disruptive, as you see, a little bit naughty maybe, but I don't do the Instas and the Facebooks, and because as I said, 99% of what you see online, it's curated, it's narrative driven. It's just not the truth.
Yeah, well, it's sometimes better just to be on one platform or a couple of platforms and do it well, and you do it very well on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, shall I put your number in the show notes as well?
If you wish, but remember, anyone that comes, I'm happy for anyone to connect to me. I'm happy to give my time to people, but you must come to me as an adult and you must come to me as a volunteer. If you come to me as a child or you come to me as a hostage, just don't bother.
It's not going to work.
Connect to someone else.
Yeah.
Deal with someone else. I've not got time for it.
Well, a large percentage of people will like that straight talking, and I think it'll work. And thanks very much for coming on today, Adam.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.